right, there's my face. How you doing, everybody? Welcome to the show. Today we got open mic Friday on the weekend before Christmas. Just a few more days, couple more days till Santa comes for the kiddies. And I'm here in the fake office. Anyway, welcome to the show. I'm excited to be here. I got a lot of hopefully it'll have some people jump in today because I want to hear your opinion on some stuff. And but first I want to do one quick thank you. Our friend Tazzy from Down Under dropped a big old $75 tip in the tip jar, and you are listen to that. Say via Streamlabs, and you are the Streamlabs Superstar Sponsor of the Day. Just what that says right there. Of the day. It says thanks for what you do, P-Dog. I really haven't had much to smile about over the last 12 months, so being able to spend an hour or two, 5 days a week watching the show is something I really look forward to. Merry Christmas. And get well soon, Lady Boomer. Cheers. Well, thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate that. And by the way, Lady Boomer is doing well. She's recovering up in the upstairs, and I cook her some food before I come down here and do my show, and then I'll just be doing my thing. So anyway, apparently I got a message here. Let me just make sure that this isn't, Hotep Jesus. Oh, here we go. Let me send this link to Hotep Jesus. And here we go. All right. I think I did that right. There we go. Oh, what the hell? Hang on. But I want to, today we're going to talk about that budget and Ukraine and Zelensky. And I just want to hear your opinions because, stuff's going crazy. What we're going to do is I'm not going to, and it won't necessarily be one person at a time. We're going to treat it kind of like, if you've ever been on Twitter Spaces, that's how it's going to be today. So let me do my thing. I'm going to play the intro and then we'll get back to you in about a minute. Johnny, play the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only P-Dog Knight.
Yes, that's me. Stop the music. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as P-Dog Knight on the internet. And welcome back to the P-Dog Knight channel, where we have lively discussions about politics, current events, culture, and whatever else you want to talk about today, because it is Open Mic Friday. And I look forward to hearing from you today, because I want to talk about mostly the this budget that the Senate just passed. I want to hear your reactions to some of the things that you're hearing. I do have a couple threads we'll go through a little bit, and we'll just there's going to be people who jump in and out, and maybe they have some different takes on different things. But it's not limited to that stuff you want to talk about. I'm prepared to hear for a couple hours, maybe 3. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But real quick, thank you, Chicago Mike. Oh my gosh, thank you. That's very generous of you, dropping a 20 in the tip jar. That's huge. Merry Christmas to you and your family, Marty. Well, thank you. Merry Christmas to all of you too. And I hope you have a wonderful time in the Chicagoland area. I'm sure you're getting snow there, just like we are. We've got about a foot dumped on us so far, and we're supposed to get more over the weekend, just like the rest of the country. We're in a deep freeze. It's a deep freeze. I saw the governor of Texas this morning saying that their grid is going to make it. And we'll see if that happens. And, to me, it's just more proof of global warming. But let's just hope for the best. And I hope everyone's safe out there, especially, look, if you're not used to this kind of stuff, I really think it's very important that you just be careful. I live in Minnesota. We are used to winter. We get snow every year. And so we all know kind of how to drive in it, although there's some people who really don't. but I hope that you make yourself safe. So anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and start bringing people in, even though I do want to go through some of these threads, but I'll have people in the room. So first I'm going to bring in Reaccio Puerto Rico. What's up, my brother?
Hey, my man, what's going on? Let me get out of this place. It has a lot of background.
Oh, no. Okay. And by the way, I see you there, Scribe. I'm going to bring you in a second here, too. So what's up, my man?
Not much. Still here in Puerto Rico, taking care of all the, affairs of dad. And should be going back home, I don't know, end of January.
How's he doing, man?
Oh, no, he passed away about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no. I didn't know that, man. I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, that's fine.
Bro.
He lived a long, full life, 95 years, bro. So.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, still though, my condolences to you, my brother.
Well, let's get on this. What do you want to talk about? Zelensky?
Well, no, you know what? Here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the this omnibus bill they are rushing through Congress. And maybe you've followed it a little bit. I know that we had the president of Ukraine addressing Congress yesterday, and they unfurled the Ukrainian flag right in the middle of the House. What's your take on what's going on with all this?
Well, it's like everything else. It's just it's a spending bill. It's just more grifting, more debt, spending the money we have to. And if you notice the propaganda is that they've been trying to make this actor, that still hasn't taken off his costume, of his little green uniform. I give him props. He's a method actor. Remember when they said that Wesley Snipes wouldn't get off his costume while doing Blade?
Mm-hmm.
This guy's doing the same thing. But they're trying to make him. They're using the word Churchillian. It's like Churchill come to America, and it's interesting that the same people that not too long ago wanted to destroy all of Churchill's statues are now calling this guy Churchillian. That this is the crossroads in history, and if you don't agree with the program, then you're pro-Putin, and you should be excommunicated and put what I call a Order 66 on you. You need to be destroyed. Hey, look at Hotep Jesus is in the building.
Yes, I just brought in Scribe Light and Hotep Jesus. Welcome.
Yo,
to
what up, folks?
Hi guys, what's going on?
So let's stick to the topic of Zelensky from yesterday. Did any of you what raised the biggest eyebrows for me? I'll start with Scribe here. What from that visit yesterday?
So I see a lot of outrage about how he was dressed. I want to address that real quick. That he was, he was disrespectful and all this. And I'm not outraged. I'm more bewildered. But also maybe I can kind of understand it. He has a brand to maintain, and that's his costume. And he's an actor. And so he shows up on brand looking like people recognize him, because if he was just a guy in a suit, I'm not sure people would instantly, associate him with his role. So I see a lot of people ticked off about it. That was disrespectful. How could you not wear a suit to visit the president, be a man of state? I think that's valid, but I also find it kind of comical that that is what he has to do to maintain this image of this. I'm in a bunker. I'm at war all the time. He has a costume. I just want to say that again. The man has an outfit and a brand to maintain, and he comes to a state presentation in that way. And I don't think it's by mistake. I don't know if it's disrespectful. But I think it's all he knows how to do to maintain his image. And this is all about image. It's all. I mean, I get so confused as to what Putin's end goal is. What do you think he's going to get out of this? But I also am bewildered by our constant dumping money into this thing. I said on Twitter the other day with Undoomed, it's a reverse. It seems to me like a reverse siege strategy. If we keep dumping money into Ukraine, turning it into this brick wall that Putin is going to constantly throw himself up against because his ego won't allow him to try to give up or concede, Russia's just going to bleed itself dry trying to take over this thing that they can't because we and others are propping them up. And so, but I can't believe that a country that was one of the most corrupt countries on the planet not too long ago is suddenly now our friend, and we have to give them money without check, without any kind of restraint. And then this guy shows up in a costume, and it just feels more and more like a farce as time goes on. The problem is there's real people dying in the process. So there's my bit. I got to go. I can only stay on for a few minutes because of work, but thanks, Marty, for having me on. Everybody stay warm. Have a Merry Christmas. I hope everybody's doing well, and I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, Scribe. Thank you very much. Hotep Jesus, what do you think about that costume?
You know, I'm just trying to figure out why everybody's concerned with what he got on. And everybody was upset. They're saying, "Oh my God, he didn't wear a suit in the Congress. This is how you dress in Congress." And I think Scribe made a great point. Right? This is his costume. This is part of his branding. It's like, remember when DeRay used to wear the blue vest? I think he still wears the blue vest. You remember that? DeRay McKesson?
Right. Yeah. He's got to keep on with the messaging of "I am still at war, even if I am in DC."
Yeah,
and the sake of humanity depends on it.
Yeah,
he know damn well he ain't on nobody's front line.
By the way, welcome to Canon Hotep also, and Hotep Jesus. I don't. What he was wearing, I guess, was not the biggest deal. Although it was nice pressed sweatshirt he was wearing though. That was kind of nice.
Oh yeah, that was a nice Walmart Gildan sweatshirt he had on. You know,
for somebody that's at war, that was a very clean wardrobe.
Right now, I want to hear some takes on what he said though. That's what's important. It almost seems like we're suddenly a subsidiary of Ukraine, and we're supposed to profit. Or I don't know if that's it. Why do you think we are the biggest backer of Ukraine? Do you think it's strictly because of all the noise they made about Putin 4 or 5 years ago, or is there something else going on?
Somebody's got to watch that money.
I mean, my personal opinion is that we put him in that position. We ousted the Russian puppet for our own puppet, right? So that was, in my opinion, is solely to get the Ukraine to join NATO. And we know that the man from Moscow, shout out to Reaction PR on that one. The man from Moscow, he don't like that. It's gonna put his back against the wall. That means if Ukraine joined NATO, Russia's surrounded by nothing but NATO allies. And he can't have that. So he invaded the country because Zelensky owes the United States a partnership with NATO. So I guess what Zelensky thinks is that, okay, if you guys want us to join NATO so bad, we about to take you for everything you got. You need to court us. You need to court us. You want us to join NATO? We need your tanks. We need your airplanes. That's essentially what he was saying in his speech. He said, we don't need you to fight for us. Just give us your resources and your money. Come on. Y'all find it a coincidence that he gave this speech right after they allotted $47 billion to the Ukraine?
But he said that's not enough, didn't he?
Exactly.
You need to say that's not enough.
Essentially,
that's not enough.
He said that's not enough. In the name of democracy. In the name of democracy, you trying to say, like the man from Moscow can't steamroll that country if he really wanted to steamroll that country.
Don't forget there's another $48 billion in aid that has been given to the greatest country on earth by 50 other countries on top of what we've given them already.
Like I said, we didn't give so much money. We didn't give so much money to the Ukraine. We could have bought the Ukraine. We could have bought it. It could be another territory of the United States when it gave so much damn money.
Now this
Well,
is
just
this is
the
what
contribution alone has made him the third most the third largest military budget in the world, just from our contribution,
right,
behind us and
and
China.
I'm gonna say something that actually worries me, and then I see hope that Jesus has silently and patiently been there, and he's gonna strike real soon with some deep knowledge. But what worries
I'm
me
ready.
is that we are pumping this country that is corrupt country. This is Eastern European old school. All the heads of the intelligence agencies in the Ukraine, the old guys, they're all former KGB trained individuals. And remember that at the end of the CCP, it was the KGB who was running basically the country. And when Yeltsin came around, they kind of like wanted to whack him too. And the guy that was protecting Yeltsin was Putin, helping around, moving him around to keep him shielded. Kind of like what the IC Franklin Beverly Institute is kind of going on around here. There's a lot of parallels of the situation. But what worries me is that you're giving money to this country, and once whether we pull out or all this ends, there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of weapons that will not get paid their pensions, that are going to be forgotten. And now, as usually happens in these situations, they won't look inward. They will look outward and say, the reason that our country is screwed is because America came here and screwed it. So we should take up a fight against America. So don't forget what happened in Afghanistan, Yemen, all these other countries where we go, we train a bunch of people, those people flip, and it ends up being that we end up getting attacked with our own weapons, with our own training. So, and I'll let hope that Jesus do his thing.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that last point, we're gonna be back over there. We're gonna be back over there. It's gonna be another situation like, oh, we, at one point we armed Al Qaeda, and then now we have to go back out there and eliminate Al Qaeda. Right. So there's these rebel groups in Ukraine. It would be Azov Battalion, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll arm these rebel groups. They'll be out of hand, and we'll go back over. But here's the thing. The United States, actually, let me not say the United States, because it's not the United States. The banking syndicate has wanted control of Russia's resources for going on 2 centuries now. And they have not been able to wriggle it free. First, they tried it with the assassination of the Tsar and his family. Then they tried to install socialism, communism, successfully did so, turned into Soviet Russia, et cetera, et cetera. However, it's remained very Russian. Now, Russia does have their oligarchs, does have their central bank, but really it's about what's underneath that soil. And what's underneath that soil, talking about natural resources like oil, one of the most abundant places on this planet. And anybody knows about U.S. involvement in foreign wars, oil is usually in the conversation somewhere. Well, why is oil so important, especially as we move towards green energy? Well, the truth is you not only have oil, you have natural gas as well. But when you have a nation that is supplying Europe, what does it do to your ability to negotiate with other nations that have natural gas, have natural resources like Venezuela, Libya, Saudi Arabia, et cetera, et cetera? Does it allow you to control oil prices like you want to? No, it does not. So going back to my previous point, also you have to remember that if it wasn't for Russia, we'd be flying under the Confederate flag. These are just facts. If it wasn't for Russia, we'd be flying on the Confederate flag. It was Russia that came over and made sure that the North didn't get surrounded by the French and the English. It was Russia that supplied their Navy. That's why we ended up buying Alaska back from them to resolve those debts. It's Russia why slavery was abolished. In Russia, slavery was abolished in 1841. In America, it's 1845. Russia is the one that was always the number one world power. Always was the number one world power. It's not until recently that you have the United States starting to grow and become a world power. So there's this constant fight. Now, here's the thing is, Russians is kind of wild. This is a well-trained people. You're not going to get boots on the ground in Russia and really be that successful. It's a vast country, too. It's humongous. It's the largest country of Europe. Really, it's called Eastern Asia. So it's going to be very hard to invade Russia. So what do? Instead of invading Russia, why don't you just destabilize the regions around Russia? Why don't you destabilize places like the Ukraine, where Ukraine was once called Little Russia?
Mm-hmm.
Ukraine was called Rus. It was the beginnings of Russia. The beginnings of Russia start in Kiev. That is the beginnings of Russia. And then it grows out from there. The people in Kiev, the people in Ukraine are cousins to the Russians. This is a war between bankers and not a war of the people. The people in Ukraine, they speak Russian. The people in Russia, they speak Ukraine. So the people there know that they are cousins. They know they are family, but they are being treated and separated like people were separated on the plantation. Okay. Now going back, what happens with the destabilization? You destabilize the region and you actually don't have to actually fight the war. A lot of these wars are economic. That's why you saw the whole situation with the Nord Stream pipeline, et cetera, et cetera. You saw the economic sanctions. Cyprian was talking about how in order to send money to his mother-in-law, he had to use Bitcoin. He had to use cryptocurrency just to get her the ability to purchase goods, because they couldn't use the international system of clearinghouses. So there's an economic war being fought as well. But again, you know, to summarize here, the powers that be, it's not the U.S. The U.S. is a proxy. The powers that be, the banking syndicate, wants to destabilize another world power to increase their own power. This is a financial war. I know some people like to say, oh, we're in the middle of spiritual wars. We're not in the middle of spiritual war. God doesn't fight demons. That's just some shit people say to get clicks and, you know, whatever. It sounds good. I've probably said it a bunch of times in my life, because sometimes it does feel like a spiritual war. But if we want to call a spade, it's a financial damn war, and has been for a very long time.
You know what's interesting, when you said the oil part too, you notice that when Russia invaded Crimea back during the Obama administration, that was right after they found huge oil reserves down in the Crimea area. This latest one, they also found huge reserves under the eastern region of Ukraine, and that's when Putin decides to go in there too. It's not a coincidence at all. So you know, that's some other obvious stuff. Now, as far as so now we're in here. Oh, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Oh,
Reaction.
so not only about the the oil and to piggyback on the resource thing, and I gotta go back in the office. Part of the during World War II, part of Funny Mustache's guy plan when he invaded Russia and the Ukraine area was to literally rip out the topsoil of Russia and the Ukraine and put it on trains and bring it back to Germany, because it was so fertile and you could grow more crops. So it's not just about that, because remember, that basically the barnyard of the world is in that region. And people have fought for that region for centuries, and that is why they call it the bloodline.
Facts.
Right.
Facts.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. And if I don't see you on another one of these soon, Merry Christmas, and you'll have a happy
Merry
New
Christmas,
Year.
peace,
Hopefully, I'll see you soon. You'll
Oh
take care,
yeah.
my friends.
Happy New Year, bro. Happy holidays.
Thanks for being
Take
here,
care.
Max Sean.
Happy New Year.
Take it easy, man.
Shalom and happy Hanukkah.
Yeah, he's right. But he's right.
Man,
I
don't
they
mean
also, you know, they have.
just oh, right.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
what I was saying is he's right. So they have their wheat export is one of the largest in Europe. I think it's one of the largest in the world, right on that Eastern Bloc as well. So that statement he made about, you know, their rich, you know, their fertilizer, you know, and their soil, he's 100% right about that. Those resources are really wanted. You know what I mean? Like, you got the news outlet, like HJ said, where they want to call it, oh, this is the man from Moscow. This is his holy roost. This is holy roost. I'm like, is it really though? Or does he really want to control those resources in the Eastern Bloc where he knows he has support? Because the people in the Eastern Bloc, they identify with being Russian. They had another vote in Crimea, and guess what happened? They voted that they wanted to be Russian, just like they did in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really throwing a wrench. Go ahead.
No, but everyone says that was a fake vote.
He said it in 2014 too. He said it was a fake vote then. Also, their military, their Navy is in Crimea and has been in Crimea for decades. That's where they're stationed.
Mm-hmm. So so with Zelensky now, they've been long before this invasion, they've been bombing the area, the Donetsk area and the eastern region. What do you think his plan was with that, as far as versus, because obviously those people had voted in that region too to separate and become their own separate state. So how is it that all of a sudden we're on the side of the guy who was bombing his own people?
Exactly. That's the
$1 million question.
That's you're not allowed to say that, P-Dog. This is YouTube, man.
I know. And so, by the way, if the channel goes down, we're also on Rumble. Thank you. Now, so what is our plan with this man? Because what are we accomplishing? Because when the wall came down back in 87, Ukraine finally makes this charter, right? Their initial charter of the country said we will always be neutral. Now, during this, all of a sudden we are basically their bank. Zelensky says that this is an investment. What are we supposedly getting out of the investment?
So first of all, we're getting nothing. If you talk about the United States, we get nothing out of this, right? There's a college called a university. It's called Rutgers University, and Rutgers University has a mascot, and the mascot is a knight, right? Because they're called the Scarlet Knights. So it's a man that runs around in a costume. Now, this Scarlet Knight is not immortal. At some point he's going to quit his job and somebody else is going to hop inside that suit. But the Scarlet Knight will live on. But the man inside the suit will not. Zelensky's merely the Scarlet Knight. Okay? He's just a costume. He's just a mascot. At some point, he will be replaced too. And there will be a new guy that we will prop up unless Zelensky plays his cards right. But he's just a puppet. He's just a mascot. He's just a face. He's taking orders, okay? He's not calling shots. He's taking orders.
Orders from who? Joe
the
Biden?
Banking syndicate. Oh,
the
no.
Banking
Joe Biden.
Oh.
The banking syndicate. Cash rules everything around me. When we, for example, you got to read the work of Anthony Sutton. Okay. When you read the work of Anthony Sutton, you find out that the Bolshevik Revolution was financed by Wall Street. And anytime you have money, along with that comes intelligence. You had pamphlets created by United States Wall Street banking companies that provided intelligence about enemies and ideas, etc., etc. It hasn't changed. War takes money. Money comes from banks. Whoever controls the money controls the war. I wrote a book. I published a report called The Patriot Report, Unmasking the Conspiracy of Money and War. And I did that because I wanted to do the research to find out what was going on with this central banking thing. And why is it there's always a financial collapse when we're at war? And that's what I found out, that when we go into 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th century Europe, where there is war, there is a banker, there is a financier, right? And I'll go ahead and give you a couple of names here, just so you guys can have a little bit of a launch pad for your research. But you had kings like William of Orange, who was propped up. And the thing is, a lot of these guys were illiterate, not only illiterate as far as literature is concerned, but also financially. So we have here Oliver Cromwell, member of the English Parliament for Cambridge. This is 1640 to 1649 under the rule of Charles I. Cromwell was assisted by Antonio Fernandez Carvajal, right? And it shows right here, Carvajal dealt in gunpowder, wine, pelts, and more, but mainly in corn, silver, which brought an economic value of about 100,000 worth of euros of silver per year, right? This guy's Portuguese. So we got William of Orange. William of Orange is also another Portuguese or Spanish man. This guy goes by the name of Moses Antonio Alvarez Machado. Also, William of Orange had another financier, Francisco Lopez Suazo. So this is the UK we're talking about here, but they're financed by Spanish people. You got another one here, Anne, Queen of England, Scotland, and Ireland from 1702 to 1707. And she was financed by Manasseh Lopez, right? And the list goes on, right? It's all in my document. It's all in my report. I published this, I think last year or the year before. I can't remember. These years start running together, especially when you're going through a pandemic. But the fact of the matter is, money takes war. I mean, war takes money. And you got to follow the money. That's not what everybody say. Everybody say, oh, follow the money. So follow the money. Where does the United States get its money from? It gets its money from the Treasury. Well, technically, yeah. The Treasury gets authorization from the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve is what? What's going on in the Federal Reserve? I know we have the clip of Bernie Sanders asking Ben Bernanke, who has now been awarded, I forget what award he got, but he got an award recently. And he asked Ben Bernanke, what happened to the $2 trillion? And Ben Bernanke said, you can go screw yourself. The United States owned money, 2 trillion of it was stolen, allegedly, apparently, maybe not. I don't know. We don't know where the money went because Ben Bernanke told Bernie Sanders, I don't have to tell you anything. And I'm not going to tell you anything. And nothing was done. So when you have the entity that controls your money operating in secrecy, it is impossible for us to know who's controlling things. Because if we found out about where that $2 trillion went, we might start be able to run a trace on these things. So all we can say is that it's the banking syndicate. And it's not the Federal Reserve. It's the people above the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve is a mechanism. It's not a living human being. There's people that have to run that thing. And it sure as hell ain't Janet Yellen or Gary Ginsburg or anybody else they like to pretend runs monetary policy in these countries.
Yeah, he's right. Even Alan Greenspan said it when they asked what's the relationship between a U.S. president and the Federal Reserve. He's like, what you mean? Like, it don't have to be a relationship. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Like,
They're on in.
like
Jerome Powell answers to a whole nother boss.
Yeah.
So now that's a pretty good transition to go into the money, because right now we have this spending bill that the Senate just passed. 18 Republicans jumped in and said, you know what, this looks like a good idea because everyone's getting money. And so I'm gonna start with this. There's a thread here by someone named Kimberly Strauss that I want to go into real quick. So let me show you this.
Drop that thread in the chat too, so we can follow along.
I'm gonna put it right on the screen. I see what I'm gonna put it right on this. Okay, there we go. So here we go. This is one of the ugly, least apparent bits of lawmaking I've ever seen, and that's saying something. It isn't just the spending, though the new domestic numbers are gross, given the trillions spent in the last 5 years. It's also that Congress, in a new trick, is attaching dozens of pieces of standalone retirement change, public lands management, healthcare policy, cosmetics regulation, electoral count act changes, horse racing rules. Everyone deserves a full debate and a roll call vote so that Americans can see where the representative stands. Instead, this monstrosity is cooked in a back room, and members can claim they had no choice but to vote against a shutdown, ducking accountability. Not that any members will have time to read the 4,155 pages of bad policy, obscene spending, and self-serving pork and earmarks. They'll just vote and go home for Christmas. Your government at work, GOP and D, are just as bad as each other. Anyone disagree?
I'm trying to find that thread, but no, I don't disagree at all.
Yeah, I like Kimberly Strassel. I like her.
Dan Bishop said, no, we'll come back to the Dan News, the one with all that has the. I have 3 of them here, and then I want to show you what's this. But if you look at it, Representative Dan Bishop, who's going through it here, we'll put this back on the screen too. Okay. When he's talking about, my team and I are reading through the Omnibus bill today, all 1.7 trillion, 155 pages of it. Follow along for some of the most egregious provisions of the bill. It expressly prohibits Border Patrol funding from being used to improve border security. Why? And then he has some like notes in here, but I'm going to skip some of those. But at the same time, it allocates $10 million towards border security for Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, Tunisia, and Oman. America Last in Action. And of course, $1.438 billion for membership in global multilateral organizations, including the UN. The word salmon appears 48 times in the bill. Seems fishy. This gives some clips. I'll put here. Let me put the first. I'm going to put the first tweet of this thread in chat on both YouTube and Rumble here. There we go. There we go. $3 million for bee-friendly highways. Anyone know what a bee-friendly highway is?
Nope.
Welcome, Chris Marino, by the way.
Nope. Something they just
Anyone
made
know
up
what a bee-friendly highway is?
No clue.
No, what the hell is that?
Is gotta be. Maybe they have like extra pollen on the sides so the bees just stop and don't cross.
Yeah. So I work for. I used to work for this. I used to work for the Office of Environmental Design here in Maryland. As the IT guy, I used to hear them talk about something similar to that all the time, which is it's just weird. All it is this: a highway where they gotta plant certain seeds so the bees can pollinate it, and they can't cut only but a certain time of year. Like it that much money for that don't even make sense. Because when I would hear them talk about the money they needed to do it just here in the state, it was something minuscule. But yeah, I get what Bee Friendly Highways is. That's just another way they push money.
Okay. And field out of the spending spree here is $65.7 million for international fishery commissions. I'm going to skip this. It's $575 million for family planning in areas where population growth threatens biodiversity. Now, this theme comes up over and over. The population growth one. Anyone want to jump in on that?
Planned Parenthood has to get their money, right?
Holy smokes!
But this is in.
Repeat that one more time.
By the way, say that again, Chris.
Is my mic working?
No, I can hear you.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
What did you just read, P Dog?
So I said anytime you see family planning, reproductive health, so that's $575 million going to Planned Parenthood. That's what that.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And and it's because they've lost so much money. Their number one. What's scary about that actually is their number one revenue stream now is gender transition therapy. So meaning turning boys into girls and girls into boys. So that $575 million, that's where that's going.
But this whole, because isn't that straight out of the WEF, the population control that they're talking about? That's what I'm asking.
Mm-hmm. Well, here it is. Biodiversity and endangered species. So what it's saying is population growth areas, aka urban areas. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what that means.
And so what biodiversity are endangered species. I think there's some people who are endangered species right now.
Yeah, but that's true.
$65 million in programs for Senator Leahy and a federal building named for Nancy Pelosi.
Don't forget the $3.6 million for Michelle Obama's trail.
That's the next one. Here are just a handful of the many earmarks in the bill, including $3.6 million for the Michelle Obama trail. And let's look at these earmarks, because this is, it used to be, I remember back in the 90s, earmarks was a big issue, especially when the 94 Congress came in with Newt Gingrich and them. I'm old enough to remember that shit. And this one, I just want to look at this real quick. So, Florida, Rutherford, I don't know what that is. Okay, here we go. Veteran Memorials Drive, bridge replacement, Port St. Lucie Boulevards, widening and improvement, City of Orlando's Careen Drive complete streets project. These are all, I can understand federal money going to like interstate highways and bridges like that. Why are all these projects? All these projects are in cities. Widening Winchester Boulevard in Sarasota, Florida, Toledo Blade Road improvements, widening of the Burnt Store Road, bus transit and charging facility in, it doesn't even say where. All of these are like city projects, and then the Michelle Obama trail, of course. All right, we're gonna come on. A few more earmarks: $477,000 for anti-racist training from the Equity Institute. Anybody know who the Equity Institute is?
Nope.
I'd never heard of it. $3 million for LGBTQ plus museum in New York City.
Oh, that's money well spent.
$1.2 million for services for documents. Wait, what are you going to put in that museum? Is this going to be another one of them sex toy things like they do at that school?
It's going to be a glory hole. You walk in and you stick your pig in. And on the other side, some stranger gives you a happy ending.
Oh, good Lord. $4.1 million. And well, then Lindsey Graham will feel at home. Anyway, I didn't say that out loud, did I? Did I say that out loud? Oh shit. Anyway, $4.1 million in various career programs for the richest counties in the United States. Fairfax, Virginia. Yes, they need a career program in Fairfax. If an additional $47 billion in Ukraine funding isn't enough for you, the bill also authorizes a quote Ukrainian Independence Park end quote in Washington D.C. I'm telling you, we should just make them a state. But they're still going to get more funding than any state in the union.
Like I said, we didn't give them so much money, they might as well become a territory.
Good
that's
Lord.
the thing, though. We gave
also,
so much
monuments
money
for
that
journalists.
No, I was going to say we gave them so much money that they're fixing. And I said, we gave them so much money, they're fixing the OS big.
Well, what's going to be funny is when we give them all this money.
Okay,
and
so
then
now
like next year, and then next year next year they cut a peace deal. They cut a peace deal with China.
Coming to you live from the
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America.
Technical difficulties.
Brother making his own way, but with all the
What
wrong
the
opinions.
hell is going on?
Hacked his computer.
Welcome to the Morning Night
See what happens when you
Live
start
with
telling
your
the truth?
host, the one and only
P-Dog.
P-Dog Night.
Sorry about that. I don't know what I didn't. I didn't even click that button, and it's still playing. We'll just let it play out.
They clicked it for you.
I don't know where that came from. Dang, something.
Talking
Yeah,
too much
the
truth,
Fed's
man.
listening. Anyway, I want to now. We've all read this thread, and everyone knows that a lot of this is ridiculous. We've been talking about the how Dan Bishop has put it together, but I want to show you how CNN puts it together, because just listen to the wording of this of how, because they're telling you, oh, what's in the, and they've got this. We'll go here. The Senate passed a $1.7 trillion year-long federal government spending bill Thursday afternoon, sending it to the House for a vote before federal funding lapses late night Friday. Now, note that they have to tell you that it's lapsing, because it's not like they haven't pushed any just stopgap bills. Obviously they tried to get this before the new Republican House. The legislation includes $772.5 billion for non-defense discretionary spending and $858 billion in defense funding, according to a bill summary from Senator Patrick Leahy, chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriations. The sweeping package includes roughly $45 billion in emergency assistance to Ukraine. Emergency? Is it an emergency? Because they already have half our equipment, right? And NATO allies. So wait a minute. Now this says $45 billion in emergency assistance to Ukraine and NATO allies. What NATO allies are we helping out right now? And why aren't they? Because if they're NATO allies, aren't they supposed to be paying their own part of their bill?
No.
What?
And then we fund the League of Nations.
Yeah.
We back everything.
Didn't the last president?
Like I keep saying, we chicken on these hoes on
tell them they pay their own way.
That's what he said.
The guy with the funny hair said you had to step up, right? Didn't the guy with the funny hair say they had to step up? And they said they were going to, right?
Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen. Just like they said, with the climate change stuff. What was that thing? The little agreement that they had, the Paris Accord. The Paris Accord, right? Like the Paris Accord, where they said, "Oh yeah, everybody's got to be accountable for their," and then nobody actually was accountable for their pollution. Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah. Or it's like the Bretton Woods Agreement, where the United States becomes the de facto reserve currency for the world, and you get to steal our gold. Yeah, that's what this is. We are the piggy bank of any nation. Well, you ever watch the show Tulsa King?
That's a damn good show. Damn.
Yeah,
good show.
we're like Sylvester Stallone in the Tulsa King, right? When we go around, we just extort people. But we actually got a boss, but nobody knows who that boss is. Yeah, that's basically what this is. So we extort them, and then we pay their bills.
Yeah, well, I got a gripe about Tulsa King too. That's a side note conversation. I paid Paramount Plus for the ad-free package
and I still get ads for COVID vaccine shots.
Oh, you're not going to avoid the ads. These people are criminal with that shit, man. It's absolutely terrible. I paid $8 for Twitter, and I see more ads than ever.
Especially,
and you're not supposed to have ads with Twitter Blue.
Especially
Elon
the vaccine
like
ads.
this, man.
We ain't talking
they're
about no
thick on
vaccines.
Tulsa King, man. On Tulsa King, they're like every other ad.
You'd think Howard Stern was in that show. All right. So anyway, however, the bill now here's the part that I kind of found interesting because they're telling you what the bill left out. However, the bill runs more than 4,000 pages, left out several measures that some lawmakers had fought to include. An expansion of the child tax credit, as well as multiple other corporate and individual tax breaks, did not make it to the final bill. Can you believe it? Tax breaks did not make it into the final bill. Is that a shocker to you? Neither did legislation to allow cannabis companies to bank their cash reserves, known as the Safe Banking Act, or a bill to help Afghan evacuees in the U.S. gain lawful permanent residency. And the spending package did not include a White House request for roughly $10 billion in additional funding for Stupid 19 response. The spending bill would keep the government operating through September, the end of the fiscal year, and is the product of lengthy negotiations between top congressional Democrats and Republicans in the Senate, because they didn't talk in the they didn't talk in the House. They don't talk to each other.
They can't give us no tax breaks because they got to hit us over the head to pay for all this stuff.
Well, they can't now. Yeah, that's exactly it. Look, right now, our actual debt is more than probably the entire gross domestic product of the United States of America. Anyway, the spending bill, let's see, I already said that. So anyway, more aid for Ukraine, emergency disaster assistance, overhaul of the electoral. Now here's the problem. So this is supposed, now because the 18 Republicans in the Senate ended up voting for this, they didn't have to keep this as a budget. Right? They didn't need normally wouldn't this need a 51% of it is just a budget item, and but they allowed cloture because so many Republicans were for this. Because, for example, this overhaul of the electoral vote counting law, that shouldn't be in a budget bill. Changes in Medicaid and other healthcare programs, there's a bunch of that. Higher maximum Pell Grants, increased support for military and veterans. Notice they're putting the things that people like on here. Beefing up nutrition assistance, and I'm through the details. More money for childcare, help to pay utility bills, enhance retirement savings. How are you enhancing retirement savings? The bill contains new retirement rules that could make it easier for Americans to accumulate retirement savings and less costly to withdraw them. More support for the environment, additional funding for the Capitol Police. Investment in homelessness prevention and affordable housing, more resources for children, mental health, and substance abuse. TikTok banned from federal devices. That's in this bill. Oh, yay. Protection for pregnant workers. Okay, I am going to read this sec. Protection for pregnant workers. The bill also aims at providing pregnant workers with work accommodations such as additional bathroom. Huh?
Isn't that what FMLA is? That's
Say it again,
protection for like pregnant workers, right? Isn't that what FMLA is?
Well, no.
Hey, Cannon.
No, listen to this. Listen to what
you can't get caught up on the facts here, Cannon.
Listen to what this does. Okay, listen. The bill also aims at providing pregnant workers with workplace accommodations such as additional bathroom breaks, stools, or relief from heavy lifting duties needed for pregnancies. It would prevent them from being forced to take leave or losing their jobs, as well as bar employers from denying employment opportunities to women based on their need for reasonable accommodations due to childbirth or related medical conditions. I'm just fascinated by that because I don't know who's paying for the stools. Who's paying for? I mean, most places that are going to accommodate pregnant women. You know what I mean? I'm not sure what that even means. So anyway, then they go through what's not in the bill, and they only include enhanced child tax credit, new cannabis banking rules. So anyway, so what I just I also have a little clip here. I'll come back to this one though. So Kevin McCarthy is over in the house. Oh, what happened there? Kevin McCarthy's over in the House saying that any Republican that voted for this bill, they're not going to get any of their priorities looked at. Anyone believe that?
No. No, not at all. Kevin McCarthy is going to absolutely need every single vote he can get. He's going to need every ounce of Republican support in the House. So he's going to push it through any of this. I mean, he's not going to punish his people. Let's put it that way.
Well, and here is I'm going to just show you a little clip from CNN being asked about this very question, because something called the recount here says Joe Manchin reacts to House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy's threat to block any bills sponsored by GOP senators who vote for the omnibus spending bill. Listen to this real quick. This will play right away.
I don't know if you saw, but Kevin McCarthy, who is really
come on,
trying to get the votes to become speaker, he said that if any Republicans in the Senate vote for this omnibus spending bill, $1.7 trillion, then their legislative priorities will not be heard in the House when he is speaker. Mitt Romney called that silliness. What do you think of it?
I think Mitt described it pretty well. Yeah, pretty well. I mean, this is not a vindictive type of thing that we're not in high school playing games back and forth. This is real life. And with that being said, Kevin is fighting, I understand, for his political life over there. Wish him well. Don't know how that's going to come out. We have no input on that whatsoever. But to say you're going to stop everything and hold things hostage if we do things that we think is best for our country on our side, and we have Democrats and Republicans both agreeing, then it's something to be worked out when the two get together, both sides. That's why we can a body at the House and the Senate. So saying that one's going to put pressure and control the other, and if you do that, forget your legislation's dead, that's not leadership.
Well, and he's got 18 of the senators voted for it. And there are more wishy-washy people in the House, although he does have some new people coming in. But he's impotent. And I think the only reason he said that is he wants to shore up votes for him being the speaker, because he knows that some of the new people come in are a little bit more, let's just say, obstinate when it comes to cooperating with the Democrats. And so he's trying to act tough without any teeth.
Yeah, that's probably right. So I mean, I think Joe Manchin hit it on the head there. And what he's referencing is conferencing. So like if there's a difference in the House and difference in the Senate, they're going to get together and conference together and pick and choose what hill they're going to die on. But bottom line is Kevin McCarthy doesn't have any leverage. He cannot lose any type of votes. And the people that are going to support Kevin McCarthy are the very quote rhino or whatever I always call them foreign first Republicans that love pork. They love the swamp. They love this kind of stuff because it gives them a ton of money to their district that they can then go run for re-election on, and of course make themselves or their family wealthy through the pork and through the sleight of hand as we know this tax dollar scheme goes. So.
Hey, yo, P-Dog, I got to go to a Grifties meeting with the production team.
All right.
We're putting that together. That's coming January 25th. I'm going to go handle that. I'll be right back.
All right. Grifties.com if you're interested. Chris, are you familiar with the Grifties?
I'm not.
That's a good
it's
time.
The greatest show on television. The Hotep Nation puts out the Grifties each year, where they have awards for the Grifters of the Year in several categories, and including organizations and individuals who you have to go. It's called what is it? Grifties.com, Grifties.com. Put in your votes. There's several people nominated for different things. It's a funny show that they put on.
And if you want to watch the previous Grifties, go to youtube.com/Hotep Nation, and you can watch the previous grifties there.
Oh, that's cool, man. So is Man of the Year going to be Zelensky? What's his name? Zelensky from Ukraine?
Oh, grifter of the year. It's I don't know. It's some steep competition. It's some steep competition.
How much? Okay, let me ask y'all something. We'll come back to Zelensky for a little bit. How much of this money is he putting away for himself? Because we know he already got billions in offshore accounts. I think he knows. Hotep Jesus made that the Scarlet Knights mascot analogy. How long do you think Zelensky is going to stay in the costume? Do you think, obviously he has all this offshore money preparing for that.
Yeah, he's not going down with the ship. He's not going to go down with the ship. He's going to escape to Argentina like Dolph Ziggler did. You know what I mean? Like, he's out of there the minute it gets, like, the minute it looks like it's a wrap, he's gone. He got so much money stowed away. He should be good for the rest of his life. He probably moved here to America somewhere. We won't even know. Or he might buy Sam Bankman-Fried's Bahama house since he ain't using it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Inevitably, Ukraine is going to change over leadership. It's only a matter of time before this happens. I personally think what's going to be horrible yet epic in some way is going to be next year, when I think that Ukraine's going to want peace, because you can only go through war for so long, right? And I think they're going to slide in. I think China's going to slide in, and China's going to say, "Hey, let's negotiate peace." China's going to offer him some of that China money, and he's going to cash in that way, and it's all going to blow up in our face. All that money we've given him, half of which has went missing. So that's my prediction for 2023. We'll see if it's right or wrong, but that's where I look at it going.
I feel you on that. Yeah, he's
who's going to want the peace more, though?
Who's going to want the peace more?
Peace more, though, people or the leadership?
I think
who's going to want the peace? Are the people going to start?
I think it's probably a combination of both. I'm actually a little perplexed by this whole deal anyway, because I've never seen a country in the middle of like this war that is like having conventions and celebrities coming and doing TV shows, people showing up in heels and suits from the Western countries, but they're supposed to be getting bombed and all this crazy, it's the weirdest thing in the world. So I think, though, at the end of the day, the grift ends. I think that China's going to come in. They're going to negotiate a deal. Like, I think that's already probably underway, and they're going to pull off peace, because I don't think Russia wants to go to war long term with Ukraine. I don't think anybody does, and I would think that that's going to include the Donbass region and those areas that are ethnically Russian getting their way.
I agree. Yeah, but he's right. Though.
Speaking of speaking of which, let's just take a look at. It's a little bit delayed. That's all right. I want to show you. I'm going to show you the this video that someone on YouTube, or not YouTube, but Twitter had on the celebrities. Here's an example. Oh, shoot. What happened there? Man, someone's messing with my computer. Can y'all still hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Damn, what's going on here? Okay. I'll just put it on like this. It's Ben Stiller. Like, how... So this is the middle of a war, huh? Tom Cruise. There he is on Letterman.
Shout out to Jessica Chastain, though. Woo.
Right? Giving him his Oscar. Oh my God.
Does anybody else feel like when he showed up at the White House, it was like, you know, the college kid coming back home for the holidays? Like, hey, welcome home.
I don't know.
That
All
one
of
just
this
makes me sick.
with the celebrities and stuff going over there. Like, we ain't see no celebrities in Afghanistan, did we? They ain't go over there and start visiting nobody.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it almost makes you wonder, like, is it really a conflict going on over there? You know what I mean? Because, like, how you got all this time to do all this other stuff and meet with all these people when your country is in imminent danger of being taken over and overrun by your former ally, I guess I would say. It just doesn't make sense to me.
And
Now, I know that the information war is a real thing, but I don't know.
In making those Churchill comparisons you talked about earlier too, when Churchill came over here in 41, he was hidden. He came over on a ship where he had to come through where all the submarines were out there, looking to shoot them down, and he came, and I know people don't want to care, still don't want to talk about what he was wearing, but Churchill came over here with air raid attire. But then he addressed Congress in a suit. But there is no comparison. He, like you said, all these celebrities are going over there and
right.
Paying their respects, and then he's traveling around. He's doing a lot of his stuff on green screens, even though he's supposedly in a war zone. He did make and then someone the other day mentioned too, he made the difference between the PR country, over in Belarus doing a state visit, while Zelensky is out. I don't know what region he's in. I don't know if he is in zone, but he's out there giving medals to troops over there. So he is a master of PR. Clearly, he's got the act. Of course, he before he became president, he was on some Ukrainian TV show where he played the president.
Right.
So clearly he knows how to act. Of course, he also has some of his comedic bits that people have been showing on on the internet that people go, really? That's the president? So I don't know.
Yeah.
See.
It's not all making sense, is it? And the crazy thing is there's this slush fund that's going over there, and it's happening weekly, by a lot of money. We're not talking about a small amount of money. And it's a little stunning that there's a portion of this country that is like, I can't even believe you're questioning the funding for this. Well, it's like, have you went over to Ukraine, or are you going off of a couple of politicians who clearly have some financial interest over there, right? And so that's the problem that we have in this country, is that we have about 40% of this country that would, quite frankly, do anything that these politicians say, so long as it's in their political interest of the same party, which, by the way, was all the things they were opposed to in the early 2000s. So, the electronic voting, war, government censorship, cracking down on freedom of speech, the Patriot Act. You can go down the list of all the things that Democrats opposed in the early 2000s, that it even wrote books about. Keith Olbermann, and now all of a sudden they're for it because it benefits them, right? And so it's pathetic, but that's the politics of today now.
How much money did we spend over in 20 years over there in Afghanistan?
Oh, well, on the books, trillions. I mean, trillions. It's crazy. Trillions of dollars. Right. Why do you go to war? Like, Donald Trump, I think, said one of the best things when he was running. why are we doing 20 years of war and not coming home with any treasures? Like, we're just going to war and then giving the oil to corporations or back to them. Like, that doesn't make any sense. We go 20 years of war, then we hand it back over to the Taliban. That doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? And so that's what we're doing. I mean, and when you really think about it, when's the last time we went to war and then said, okay, we're in charge now of this land that we just won?
Right. Yeah, why not?
Stopped doing that. We stopped doing that back in Korea.
Exactly. So it's like, why are we going to war? Enter the military-industrial complex. And, you know, and so that's an issue, and it's bankrupting this country.
All these contractors, this bill, let's take this budget. Okay. It's another increase in the military budget, obviously, because they have to restock some shit. But also, again, who funds most of these senators? Who fund people writing these bills? You know, you got a bill that nobody's read, 4,155 pages, earmarks up, you know, up the wazoo for people. Increases in spending in areas where the only reason we have to increase spending is because we're giving everything to Ukraine. So, you know, those the Raytheon
and P-Dog, you know, people don't realize the way they passed this bill violated House rules. So it actually violated procedural rules in the way that they went about doing this, House and Senate rules. Because those were modified specifically under the Trump era. They were modified to prevent this kind of stuff from happening.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the House, the House still has the bill. I think there's some people in the House who are trying to delay it some by they can force it to be read and all that. But it's pretty inevitable that this is going to be passed in the House. The only other thing is you know, unless they can take out some of those parts of the bill that have nothing to do with budget. And I'm not sure if they're going to be successful at that either, because the Democrats want to get this passed before they lose their jobs, which I think is basically, from a technical standpoint, not even a technical standpoint, from a practical standpoint, is after today, because they ain't coming back after the Christmas, you know, after the holiday break to do anything. They're going to all go home, and then they got the new Republicans take over in January. So it's
one way or another, though. One way or another, P-Dog, is this is the end of an era, right?
Especially when it comes to the Ukraine part. Unless someone has one of them little blue and yellow flags in their bio, I see more and more people going, wait a minute, why are we giving all this money to Ukraine again? That people are people that I never thought I'd see question it are starting to question it. And if that's what it takes, great, but it's futile right now, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I completely agree. It is happening, but it's not happening enough. But I think one thing we can acknowledge, which is, this is probably the more troublesome part, right, is we're at the end of an era, right? These people, for the most part, are all 70, 80 years old. And they can only go on for so long. So the reason why I say this is probably the most troubling part is because when you're at the end of your era, you've been in a position for 20, 30, 40, 50 years doing this grift, right? You want to make as much as you can for your legacy, your kids, your grandkids, your family. So they're gonna literally do all they can to spend the money, blow the money, put things under their name, like you saw everything Leahy, you know, Patrick Leahy. They're going to do everything they can to put all this stuff under their name, to spend even more money, and to make themselves memorable in history. And the problem with that is we have a system that they changed in the early 2000s, right? Or really the late 90s, when they passed NAFTA and CAFTA and SHAFTA and all those other things, right? They changed fundamentally changed our economy. So we lost our manufacturing base. We lost all the quote blue collar jobs. A lot of them were union jobs. We lost those jobs, but they didn't change the way that the tax codes and the way that average people can also be successful, meaning like how you buy a house, right? So if you transition the economy, and now all these people are gig based, they're commission based sales, all these different things. But then it's like a nightmare to try to buy a house if that's how you earn your living. You know what I mean? Or you're a small business owner. It's a nightmare to, you have to prove all this extra stuff. They haven't changed the actual government structure itself because they don't live in that structure. They live in a structure that's always been paid, that we've paid their bills for decades. They're not in the real world. We are. And unfortunately, the system hasn't been changed. And a lot of people are going to retire or die off before it ever is.
Well, in the words of Garrett Morris, but coming out of Nancy Pelosi's mouth, government service has been very, very good to me, because the net worth of some of these people going in and coming out is just crazy. The difference in them.
Did you see the Trump tax returns?
I haven't seen him.
He only made I think his last year in office, he made $3 million. Like the guy literally lost money being in.
I don't know what
office.
they was expecting to find. I do not know what they was expecting to find between 2013 and 2018. I don't know what they were looking for. I guess they thought some smoking gun was going to happen, and that they were going to see he was laundering all his money through whatever that bank that they tried to say was operating out of Trump Tower, and it was nothing. It was nothing.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that he lost money.
Well, here's something that I absolutely
is stunning.
Well, here's something I absolutely know. Because I've been kind of waiting for this. The reason I know there's nothing in them is because I haven't heard anything about them. There's little blips here and there out there, but I'm not here about them 24/7. It's not the number one topic on Twitter. It's not the number one topic on any social media because there's nothing in them. So that's how I know there's not. I was gonna wait to see. Oh, here's where they're gonna talk about the smoking gun. There isn't one, other than he didn't make this much money. Well, you're not a billionaire by how much you make in income every year. You're a billionaire by how much assets you have. So, because that's what they were going to try to say. They're hoping they can embarrass him by saying, oh, well, he's not really a billionaire because he only makes $3 million a year. You know what? Like he said when he was debating Hillary Clinton, they said, did you use this, and this so you didn't have to pay any taxes? He said, yes, of course I did. I'd be stupid not to. I'm going to take advantage of the tax code however I can and pay as little taxes as possible. And that, you know what? That was the one reason I ended up voting for him. Yeah, of course you would. You wrote the tax code. I didn't write the damn tax code. So, let it, whatever.
Yeah. That's the problem with these people. So these people, here's what's going to happen though. And this is what Elon has exposed. This is what's going to take place is we spent 4 plus years, actually probably about 6 years, trying to impeach a president, prosecuting people like Roger Stone or whoever else based on bots, based on weapons of war, fake accounts that promoted false stories that then they used for trials and different things to prosecute people. So let's go ahead and use what they've done with Trump. They placed 4 or 5 criminal charges on Donald Trump via the House, and for inciting insurrection, whatever, because he wanted to challenge the election. Well, then you look at the Transition Integrity Project, which John Podesta was head of, and you look at all of Jim Baker, the general counsel for the FBI, turned deputy general counsel for Twitter. You look at all these people that were involved. They literally put on paper 4 scenarios and what they need to do if these scenarios play out. One of which was if we lose, Donald Trump wins, we need to literally organize, incite, basically do riots and those kinds of things in the documents. So they put in writing all the things that they're trying to get Trump prosecuted for giving a speech while this was all happening. He did none of it. They put it in writing. They're always reflecting what they did. And it's stunning to me that these people are not being held accountable. And I think it's more of a tell as to our justice system and the politics involved in some of this, that you get a guy like them who put it in writing. They don't get charged. Someone like Sam Bankman-Fried, who can rip off billions of dollars. But if you're an average dude, a black, brown dude that runs into a gas station and steals $100, you're going to prison for 10 years. But Sam Bankman-Fried can play video games in the Bahamas after snatching $1 billion+ from people, right? This is the problem in our system that has to change. These people have to be held accountable.
They won't
That
be.
money went to the right people, though.
Right. That's why they won't be held accountable.
that money that Sam Bankman-Fried took went to the right people. If Sam Bankman-Fried, if all that money went to Donald Trump, Kevin McCarthy, and say Madison Cawthorn, where would he be right now?
Man, he'd be up
no
in
bail.
smoke.
His ass would be in jail. he'd be in one of those local DC jails. His trial would end up being in about 2026, and because they'll be doing discovery, and then they'd have a judge up in there saying, "Oh well, we need to because this we delay because that there's a new emergency, there's a new flu strain coming out, so we got to delay this again." He'd be up there with the January 6th people.
CNN would be right
all
there.
That money went to Democrats, and actually, I made a mistake there though, because some of that money did go to McCarthy and McConnell. It went to Democrats, and then the leadership in the Republican Party that is just actually part of the uniparty. But anyway, yeah, he'd be up there with the January 6th people rotting in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, well, P-Dog, I appreciate you having me on the show. I do have a hard stop. I got to hop off because I got a conference call in about 5 minutes. But I just wanted to hop on your show, send you guys a bunch of love. Hotep and the Hotep Nation, you guys are awesome. It's an honor to be on the show with you guys. I'm kind of new to all this, so it's pretty cool. And I've been watching you guys from afar. And, P-Dog, as always, man, you run a great show, brother.
Well, thanks, man. Cheers, and thanks for dropping in. Merry Christmas to you, and you have a great day, man.
Thank you,
for
man.
The love, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. You guys can follow me on Twitter at @TheChrisMarino. I do co-host spaces with Monica Matthews quite often, and you guys ever are in our spaces, man, definitely shoot up to come up and speak and all that good stuff, man.
No doubt.
All right, see you guys. Hey, Merry Christmas too, by the way.
All right, man.
Happy Hanukkah.
All right, see you guys.
All right, man. HJ.
P-Dog.
He brought up the he brought up the January 6th stuff, and all of a sudden they have an indictment recommendation for the former president of the United States.
They scared of that.
What should we talk about that? What do we need to say about that?
They're scared of that man. They are absolutely terrified. So I have a mailer I send out. People subscribe to it at hotepjesus.com. They're terrified of Trump, and there's a specific reason why. He represents the populist movement. He represents organic people. He represents the purebloods. Right now, many conservatives are being gaslit to support DeSantis. Trump isn't even getting the favorable coverage from right-wing media that he used to. Many of the grifter class has moved away from Trump and have moved to DeSantis. I believe that's because the donor money has moved as well. But it seems like, some of the powers that be want to taper the power of Trump and getting a little bit too powerful. and they're afraid of people having a real representative, a real quote unquote leader. So they're resorting to using the courts against them. And that's the point we're at now, which it hasn't been effective at all, other than being disruptive, chaotic, and causing confusion and delaying things and stealing our taxpayer money. I mean, how much money was in the Omnibus bill, for this January 6th stuff is ridiculous. But it's an indication of the people are winning. That's how I look at this. This is a very white pill movement. It shows that the people are winning, and they want to take the head of the snake.
So yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I mean, you gotta look at it, right? They're throwing Hail Marys left and right. You know what I mean? They bringing them up on. They trying to refer charges to Congress on some shit he already beat during the impeachment trial, right? Then you got the taxes. And I said this before. I said this on my stream like a couple of days ago. I said they're going to tout out his taxes. I said all they're going to see is they're going to have the equivalent of when Rachel Maddow pulled one of his tax returns and revealed that he paid like $7 million in taxes. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's all they're going to get. They're going to get a bunch of nothing. But what they want to do is they want to make him so unsavory to the GOP that they don't pick him as the candidate. And that looks like what it seems to be happening, like HJ said, is that looks like they're trying to pivot to Ron DeSantis over Donnie T because they cannot allow him to run again. So they're trying to put all of this dirt on him, pin all of this other stuff on whether it's right or not, just so they don't have to worry about him in that presidential primary. Because whoever they pick for their presidential primary, he's going to wipe the floor with them.
So, besides DeSantis, who do you think that they're going to try to pick? Because I know, as I'm reading some of the mainstream media, they're throwing out some names, and I went, "What? Who's your governor? Hogan?
You think?
Oh, Hogan doesn't have a chance. He doesn't have a chance. He's been trying to run.
And they talked about
his run for president. He doesn't have a chance.
What about Hawley?
Been brought up Chris. What?
No, Josh Hawley.
Josh Hawley.
Josh Hawley looks like he might be the white horse in that whole situation against DeSantis. That goes that way. Josh Hawley might be like the JFK of the right.
Yeah,
they're trying.
That's a good comparison. Yeah,
so
that's a good comparison.
Hawley might be that. He might be that dark horse, guys, that come out of this thing, and he might surprise everybody. Essentially, as far as I'm looking at the populist movement, because he's still MAGA. You know what I mean? He's still a part of that. You know what I mean? So I can see them. They're going to be afraid of him as well.
Absolutely.
But how many times, if he even steps up, how many times are you going to see that picture of him shaking his fist?
Oh yeah, we're going to see that a million times. They're going to try to make the whole. Remember Edwards when he was like, we're going to Chicago and we're going to be They're going to try to use that fist shake is like that stuff that he did back then. And
Howard Dean. Howard Dean.
I don't know if I said John. Yeah, Howard Dean. Like that's all he did, and that one thing took him out of the entire presidential race, as promising as he was looking. And they'll try to do the same thing with Howley, but we got the advent of the internet, more technology with the internet. Nobody's going to fall for that anymore, in my opinion.
So is Trump too damaged, though? Is any of this beginning to stick? Because you're starting to see some people, at least in the polls that they want to show you, they're starting to say, oh, there's a little bit of a chink in the armor here. Here comes DeSantis. Here's people are, looking down. Now, they've always said they were looking down on Trump. But is this starting to stick?
This is, again, like I said, when we saw 2016 and 2020, even a little bit prior, we saw the public being gaslit by the media, mainstream media. abundantly. You're seeing the same thing happen now with the right. They're being gaslit into not liking Trump. And then the influencers are following suit into gaslighting the public into not liking Trump. This is a psyop. And it just goes back to the whole idea that, you know, if you keep telling a lie enough, it becomes the truth. And I think that's what they're trying to push here.
So just, let me think about that. My brain's breaking up here.
Yeah, internet breaking up too.
So how what, yeah, a little bit. So damn, I completely lost my train of thought.
Well, the public's being gaslit, right? The public's being gaslit. It's propaganda. It's psychological manipulation. It's the fact that there's an organic populist movement happening. MAGA. Remember they bifurcated Republicans. They said, okay, here are Republicans, aka your legacy Republicans, that's your Cheneys, that's your Grahams, you know, whatever. Then you got your MAGA Republicans, and they quarantined off MAGA Republicans to separate themselves, because legacy Republicans or legacy GOP really they're not really in the business of combating Democrats. They're in the business of looking like they're combating Democrats, but they want a seat at the table because they know Democrats have the power, and the Democrats have the power because the Democrats control popular opinion. They know that Democrats control the poverty vote. They know that Democrats control big tech. So they don't have much power. So instead of actually fighting their power, you know, what's that phrase called? You know, if you can't beat them, join them. It's that type of situation.
Well, now we've seen, especially with the big tech, with the Twitter files coming out, how pervasive it is when you say they control big tech. All these, the inside, the FBI, who are getting their 7 days to Sunday that Chuck Schumer talked about, and we know that just from hearing the hearings, that happens in all social media. We got the Time magazine story last year talking about, hey, we did it. We got rid of Trump, right? How, you know, is his populist appeal enough to overcome that this time? Because now that we know the inner workings of Twitter, now clearly, you know, Elon Musk is saying, we don't want this happening inside this particular social media. Are these Republicans who come in going to start asking some of the other social media companies to come back and say, hey, we saw what's happened over here. Are you doing this shit too?
It's going to be one hell of a war. It's going to be probably the most interesting election we've ever seen. You know, we thought the last one was interesting. This was going to take the cake, man. We're going to really see the Republicans fighting. Who knows how Ye throws a wrench into all of this, which is another, you know, side conversation. But it's going to be a war. It's going to be a serious political war between the people and the powers that be. We're going to really see the mental power of people, their ability to withstand propaganda, their ability to tell their media, no, this is the wrong coverage, as the right-wing media outlets try to pivot to other options. We're going to watch people switch sides. We've already seen people switch sides. You know, they made a career and their name off of Trump, and now they turn their back on him. We're going to start to see the cream rise to the top. We're going to start to see who's real, who's fake, who's about this life, who's not. But that's what I think is it's not really about who wins this. For me personally, this is a more of a discovery period where we begin to discover what the people of America are made of, and the fate of the future of our country is going to be decided in the next election. It's going to tell a lot about who we are as a people. That's what I believe this next period is. It's a period of discovery.
Yeah, I mean, remember 2016, like I said before, was one on memes, right? That was spawned all of this infiltration of these social media platforms. That's what spawned all this Section 230 protections. You know what I mean? That's what spawned all of this stuff. They cannot allow that to happen again. They got lucky with 2020, where I ain't gonna say they got lucky. They masterfully did that shit. They created a panic with an illness in order to keep people in the house, in order to roll out the penny savers, is what I like to call them. In order to circumvent.
Except it was the safest, fairest election in the history of the United States of America. I'm going to continue to say that.
The safest, most fortified,
the most secure, most fortified. It went perfectly. It was the most sacred and perfect election ever, because I don't need another 2 weeks off.
A masterfully fortified safety, the most safest and secure election in U.S. history.
Election integrity was at an all-time high.
All-time high.
And it still is. And there's nothing happening in Arizona right now.
And they need to make sure that election integrity maintains throughout the foreseeable future. You can't have these dark MAGA Republicans making a resurgence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we have to get to our great reset.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do that when you don't have any team players.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, on that
have that dark
note,
runner.
I'm gonna. Oh, we have a visitor. We have another visitor. I'm not sure who this is. Well, let's find out. That was
Daddy.
Hello,
Daddy, I'm coming.
Doree.
Oh!
Okay. Somebody decided to jump in. That's okay.
That was a
I'm
bit,
like, I didn't know the
that
name, but I just took a chance. And something.
All
right. Well. Bubba. Anyway, oh, real quick, Ty Alexander dropped a super chat here from out of Streamlabs. Says, "Yo, fam, I just want to say, fuck the budget, fuck the bitches that voted for it. Fuck Zelensky, fuck Pudding Brain, his cackling whore of a sidekick, Yertle the Turtle, the terror gnome I feel he deserves, and any other motherfucker that thinks this is okay." Well, Tyre, thank you very much for sponsoring the show. Congratulations. That was a beautiful. It was almost poetic, and I hear you. So, all right, fellas. Well, I'm gonna try to end on that upbeat note. But hey, I want to thank you for joining me today, Chris Marino, Canna Hotep Jesus, for joining me on the show today. I look forward to doing this again sometime. I'm going to try to do this maybe at least every couple of weeks, just having an open chat, open mic session, and invite some friends on and talk about different things. So, gentlemen, thank you. You got to. Oh, before you go though, if you got anything you want to plug,
TryMasterFocus.com. TryMasterFocus.com. Go get your brain pills. Go get your brain pills, man.
Masterfocus.com. That's a new product that Hotep Jesus has out there. And Cannon?
Yeah, just Cannon Hotep on Twitter, Cannon Hotep on YouTube and Rumble. Go check it out. Go subscribe.
All right, fellas. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to call it a day. Everyone out there, wish you the happiest of holidays. I say Merry Christmas. In fact, right here, Merry Christmas. And
Happy Hanukkah.
And happy Hanukkah to Jesus, who's been hanging out with his Jewish brothers. And Cannon Hotep, Merry Christmas to you, sir.
All
right, guys.
Merry Christmas.
I'm going to call it. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today on the Morning Night Live. This is, if you have any, please hit the like button on Rumble and on Twitter, on YouTube. If share the stream afterwards when it's over, and if you're watching on a replay, throw a comment in the comment section if you have anything you want to add to the conversation. Don't think I'm going to be doing anything between now and Monday. It's possible we might do something tomorrow morning, but that's okay. We'll see what happens. For myself and Lady Boomer, we want to thank you guys and wish you the happiest of holiday seasons. And that's it. I want to that's it. My name is P-Dog Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Hey, this is P-Dog Knight, and thank you for watching today on the P-Dog Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm P-Dog Knight, and I'm out of here.